086 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Christmas canapé offers partygoers a small treat that staves off hunger and soaks up the fizz. Founder and host of Crazy Sexy Food, Hannah Harley-Young, joins me now with a toothsome selection. Lovely to see you, Hannah.
You too.
Origin of the word canapé?
Yes, French. Sort of from the, yeah, of course, from sort of the 1800s. It means sofa. So it's sort of playing on the analogy of someone sitting or lying on a sofa. It is about the garnish, traditionally sitting on a piece of stale bread or pastry. Obviously, it's evolved over the years. I don't have any stale bread for you, don't worry. But the idea is that it's something sort of garnish, something exciting sitting on a vehicle that you can put in your mouth in 1 or 2 bites.
It's obviously post-war. What is it? Is it 60s or 70s? How long have we been eating these things?
I would say around about then. And I think what's interesting, I mean, I always look towards even the 80s, a little bit sort of... later on, where it's, where you sort of have that, sort of the classic vol au vent, which was, you know, a little bit dry, a little bit tasteless. And I think that's why I've brought a real selection for you to show you how far we've come. Another traditional one, obviously, being your pigs in blankets. I'm going to hold off for a second before I choke. Another thing that I have to say about canapés, there are a few little tips that I must give people super quickly. Make sure they're small. 1 or 2 bites. When you're at a party, you're standing, you've got a glass in one hand, you need to hold it. There. OK, I would have preferred a glass of wine, but, you know, I can't stand these canapés where I have to put the glass down in order to eat the food. I want to do it all at once.
I couldn't agree more. You should never eat more than you can lift.
Exactly.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. A car has ploughed through a Christmas market in Germany. At least 1 person has been confirmed killed, several more injured, and the alleged assailant has been arrested. What you're looking at right now is live images of Magdeburg in Germany, where this devastating attack has taken place. Some video that we're not allowed to show you because it is simply too graphic shows a car driving at high speed through a Christmas market. It's understood that between 60 and 80 people are confirmed to be injured. There are reports as well from respected German outlets about the nationality of the suspected driver and the potential for an explosive device to have been discovered at the scene as well. In fact, I'm just getting it in my ear now in the last couple of seconds that it's been confirmed that 11 people have died. I'm going to take you to Germany. We're also going to be talking with a whole host of guests and asking what this means for us here. Just recently, 3 late-stage terror attacks foiled on the streets of Britain. Armed police at Christmas markets. How much more of this can we really take? I'm also going to show as well, in other news,
Whitechapel in East London. A hardline vigilante group is trying to impose Sharia law on unsuspecting members of the public.
A judge used a fatwa decried by a Sharia court to decide a case here in Britain.
This is where the scholars would normally sit and have our consultation meeting with the husband and wife sat on each side.
Why is everyone too scared to tackle the scourge of Sharia law in modern Britain? Also,
it's the jobless Phillips family, who have lived off state benefits for the last 20 years.
More than half of households are paid more in benefits than they pay in taxes. This madness has to stop. Also,
look at this, guys, for community out in numbers. Look at that.
Labour councils say they are on the brink as the government makes them house too many illegal immigrants. Is your area one of the worst affected? Plus,
I believe in honour, integrity.
Well, actually, if he does, it's a shame, because Labour's anti-corruption minister is now accused of being part of a multi-billion-pound embezzlement scandal. All of that and more, 9 to 11 p.m. Get ready, Britain, here we go. Just in the last few seconds, it's emerged that 11 people have been confirmed dead at that Christmas market attack. I'm going to take you over now straight away to our Home and Security editor, Mark White, who's got the latest from a fast-moving situation in Germany. Mark.
Well, Patrick, deeply alarming news now coming out of Magdeburg in Germany, a German city in the northeast of the country, about 100 miles from Berlin, with Bild, the prominent newspaper in Germany, confirming, as you just reported there, 11 fatalities so far. It's also being reported by German media that at least 70 people have been injured. Eyewitnesses have been telling local reporters in Magdeburg that the scene resembled a war zone within this Christmas market, with many, many casualties lying in and amongst the stalls there that had been demolished by this vehicle. There is imagery that's circulating now on social media showing a car driving at high speed, or being driven at high speed right through that market, not slowing down at any point, bodies being scattered by that vehicle as it's driven right through the market. And now we're told a man in his 50s from Saudi Arabia is a prime suspect, arrested by police at the scene. This being reported by Patrick, De Welt newspaper, news organisation in Germany, very respected.
Absolutely, Mark. Mark's going to stay with us. You are, again, just to emphasise, watching those live images there from Magdeburg. I'm going to bring you as much information as we get it. Some concerning stuff you were saying just before we came on air, Mark, as well. Some sources suggesting that an explosive device might have been found?
That is being investigated at the moment by police at the scene, who are, as you would imagine, examining that car now in fine detail. And the reports from the scene are that police have concerns there may be an explosive device within the car itself. So that will be a very slow and careful search of that vehicle to make sure that there is no potential threat here. Patrick, the authorities in Germany are not yet talking about any kind of motive or cause for this incident. But to me, having covered so many of these incidents over the years, this has all the hallmarks of a vehicle-borne terrorist attack.
So this is why you need to stay with GB News now, because we are going to be getting information coming in thick and fast like this. The man arrested following a suspected attack on a Christmas market in Magdeburg was not previously known on law enforcement's radar as a known Islamist. The implication there, Mark, is that they now know exactly who this is.
They'll have been able to find out probably quite quickly from whatever sort of bank cards, identity cards this individual may have been carrying. Fingerprints as well. If he'd been known to the authorities, then fingerprints and DNA would show up. But these are early reports. Of course, it might be in the fullness of time that that picture changes, because as I say, we've had so many of these attacks that have taken place in the UK, for instance, where authorities in the first instance say that this person is not someone who is known to them. In the fullness of time, we find out that actually they were across the radar of the police and security services.
I know that we're looking at live shots now. I do just wonder if we might be able to remind people of the footage that we've played a little bit earlier on, which was the immediate aftermath of this attack. It's a Christmas market, it's Magdeburg, people going about their business. May I remind everyone again that whilst the exact cause of this, the exact motive, has not officially been revealed, this is part of multiple situations like this that have taken place in Europe. And I made some notes here before I came on air. There was the 2016 Berlin truck attack at a Christmas market. There was a similar event as well at Strasbourg Christmas market. 4 men, in fact, went on trial for their involvement in that deadly market attack. a few months ago. So this is part, Mark, of a wider picture here right across Europe and also here at home in Britain. Armed police at Christmas markets now. People like James Cleverly saying, oh, look around, report anything suspicious that you might see. I mean, this is a big problem, isn't it?
It's a very significant problem. It's the threat is crowded places. So it can be a Christmas market at this time of the year. It could be a football or sporting event. It could be a shopping centre or a hotel that we know have been attacked by terrorists in the past. And you mentioned there the Christmas market attack in Berlin in 2016. I was sent there reporting on that scene, absolutely horrific. 12 people killed, 56 others injured when a lorry was hijacked by a Tunisian asylum seeker protesting at the German government's policy of supporting the coalition campaign to go after the terrorist group ISIS, Islamic State, in Syria. That was a direct triggered attack from Islamic State, and we've had so many attacks over the years since that have been linked back to Al-Qaeda, yes, we know about them, and ISIS in particular. They have been the proponents of these low in sophistication but very deadly attacks, grabbing a kitchen knife, getting behind the wheel of a vehicle and just causing as many casualties as possible. And that's why
This is the aftermath now. So this is footage that was taken very shortly after the attack. You can see there.
Just want to warn our viewers, actually, because there are images of people lying very badly injured on the pavement inside this Christmas market here. We've of any criminal or terrorist history.
And that's such a difficulty for security forces. We've got, over here in Britain alone, 40-odd thousand people on a terror watch list. The vast majority of them are Islamist terrorists. Again, I will say that it's not been confirmed that that's what this attack is, but it paints a picture, doesn't it? But it's the lone wolf attacks, Mark, the people who aren't known to security services, the people who, frankly, slip under the radar, don't they?
Yeah, they now call them self-initiated terrorists. I was at a briefing, actually, at Scotland Yard just earlier this week with Vicky Evans, who is the new National Coordinator for Counter-Terrorism Policing. And this issue of self-initiated terrorists is one that is giving the police and the security services increasingly sleepless nights, because they can be self-radicalised over the internet, directed by a group like ISIS to go and get a vehicle and carry out this kind of atrocity. You don't have to have a long history of extremism. You know, people can be radicalised very quickly with what they're watching online.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at exactly where this is. So for people like myself, frankly, who aren't necessarily right across German geography, this is where it is. We can see the pin in the map there. So Magdeburg is what?
Northeastern Germany, yeah. About 100 miles from Berlin, 100 miles west of Berlin there. And it's actually quite a significant city, a major centre of commerce, and thankfully it is a big enough local metropolitan area that they have a number of major trauma centres in the Magdeburg area. They have all been put on alert for what they are describing as a mass casualty event, and we know that already dozens of badly injured people have been taken to major trauma centres in the Magdeburg area, Patrick.
I just want to give you a little bit of the political reaction to this, because I do find that at times like this, where there has been a mass casualty reaction, the political reaction is always very interesting. So you have the Prime Minister of Saxony-Anhalt, who is Rainer Haselhoff. That's the region, by the way, Saxony-Anhalt, where this is, who says it's a terrible event, especially now in the days before Christmas. There was also a message earlier, Mark, whether or not this is a slight mistranslation from Olaf Scholz, but he appeared to, come out in the wake of this and say, not a lot, really. It was something along the lines of, it appears something very bad is happening. Well, yeah, it does.
Yes, it was translated as something bad is about to happen. I suspect that probably what he was saying is that you are about to hear some very awful news as the details unfold of this event. He went on to say his thoughts are with all those who have been caught up in this. As you say, 11 now, according to German media, who have been killed, and some 70 others who have been injured, a very significant number of casualties.
Indeed. Now, we're just getting an update on the possibility of there being an explosive device in the vehicle. So local police have now gone on record officially saying that they suspect that there could be an explosive device in the vehicle that ploughed through the Christmas market. They've cordoned off the entire site due to the possibility of explosives. So that's what's happening right now. We do have live images, which we will be showing you periodically throughout this broadcast. So if anything does happen there is a good chance that we will take that live. Incredibly devastating scenes there from Magdeburg. It is, of course, I think, interesting to put it into the context of what's happening here at home. So this is a report that emerged earlier today for people who are in Britain. Public urged to report potential terrorists at Christmas markets. That's been here. What we have also seen, and we've reported on it numerous times now, is an increased armed police presence at Christmas markets here in Britain. And in fact, we can show you a tweet that went viral not so long ago from Greater Manchester Police. And there they are saying, you know, be reassured that we've got armed police here at Christmas markets. There was a similar one in Surrey as well, and that caused a lot of backlash from people saying, well, come on, tell us why we need armed police. We all know the reason why we need armed police at Christmas markets. We also have bollards pretty much on every major walkway now to prevent attacks like this. Later on, I'm going to show you some really fascinating footage from... There's some of the bollards there that we have here in Britain. So I'm going to show you some footage from Berlin later in the show, which shows you how the extreme lengths they go to protect their Christmas markets from attacks like this. In fact, shall I show? I'm going to show it you now. So this is a Berlin Christmas market. Look at the extreme lengths that they've been going to in Berlin to try to stop a vehicle attack, just like the one that we're seeing in Magdeburg. This attack has, we believe, unfortunately killed about 11 people. Have a look at this from Berlin here. So this is it. If you want to get into a Christmas market in Berlin, you have to go through all of this, don't you, Mark? This kind of stuff.
Yes, but it's not just unique to Berlin, to Germany. This is happening in European cities, including in European countries, I should say, in cities in those countries, including here in the UK. If you go up to Birmingham, to the Christmas market there, you will see what they call these vehicle mitigation barriers that are all around that market. Now, this was really something that was introduced quite a few years ago, almost a decade ago, when ISIS came to prominence in Syria and encouraged their supporters to get behind the wheel of vehicles and to plough into people. So increasingly over the years, these mitigation barriers have popped up, but you probably don't notice them as much because what they've done now, in order not to have big, massive concrete barriers, is they make them part of what they call the street furniture. So you just look, it just looks like, you know, quite nice, ornate iron railings or barriers, but they're actually deeply embedded into the ground. They provide a level of support against vehicles travelling at speed and trying to smash through that. And they're in London, they're in Birmingham, they're in all major centres of population in the UK. And in terms of armed police around the likes of Christmas markets, well, I have to say, I've covered for GB News for the last 3 years. We've been up in Christmas markets filming armed police. This is routine. Yeah. They do this because they have to. What they don't do anymore, and I think this is why people were getting really quite irked at the almost jolly messages that were coming out. This is all about, you know, reassuring you. What they don't do is say, look, you know, this is a high-risk environment. Yeah. Crowded places at this time of year are a very high-risk environment. You're at risk of a terrorist attack. They don't word it in those ways.
And it's not just so depressing, though. Yeah. I genuinely do feel actually reassured when I see armed police everywhere.
Yeah.
And in this current climate, in light of what you're seeing on your screens right now, I would rather have them there than not. But isn't it just absolutely ridiculous that we have to have them? It's worth, again, noting, I think, that the Islamic State claimed responsibility for an attack a while ago at a festival of diversity in Solingen, where, as it turned out to be, a Syrian asylum seeker went on a rampage there with a knife. 3 people died there. There is no confirmation yet as to whether or not this is an official terror attack, whether it's ISIS, whether it's Al-Qaeda. Mark, I'm going to ask you to stay there for me if that's all right. I'm just going to bring in now the former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, Chris Phillips. Chris, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. So, look, the latest is, as I'm sure you're aware, that around 11 people, we believe, have sadly died as a result of this deadly attack at a Christmas market in Magdeburg. How big now is the terror threat across Europe? Because we've been reporting for a little while here that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are very much back in action, aren't they?
Well, as Mark's been explaining, there are people out there that want to do us harm. They live in our cities and they can use low sophistication methods to do that. And it so happens, actually, that Germany recently has been the focus of more terror attacks. France has suffered many terrorist attacks over the last 10 years. Germany now seems to be catching up a little bit, and it's really concerning over there. And, of course, all the stuff you were talking about, hostile vehicle mitigation, we've been putting these measures into our cities for 15, 20 years. I was a big part of that, actually, in the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office. And we've been trying to persuade locations that actually look after people, so make crowded places like Christmas markets, to do something to protect their people. Sometimes that's putting in chicanes to stop vehicles being able to go fast. On other occasions, it's actually using real hostile vehicle mitigation measures. And you'll see those popping up, the little ones that you can walk through. You'll have seen them if you've been to any crowded place recently. So measures are in place, but it is concerning that this attack's taken place. And of course, what we always worry about is copycats. Shortly after one of these has taken place, that we have another one.
Just on that, Chris, can I just ask you? Look, I don't want to be accused of scaremongering or anything here at all. I think it is worthwhile you and with your expertise as the former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security, just informing our viewers and listeners, as we see pictures on the screen now of the immediate aftermath of that attack in Magdeburg, what this can mean. So could this mean that other people are inspired to do something similar over here? Is there a fear that this is part of a much bigger operation? We think that police are trying to get to the bottom of whether or not there's an explosive device in the guy's car. When you look at a situation like this, what do you see? Do you see this as an isolated incident? Do you see it as should people who are thinking tomorrow, for example, here in Britain, going to Christmas markets, for Saturday before Christmas, are we advising people not to go now, Chris?
No, absolutely not. And that's kind of the worst thing we can do, because if we do that, then the terrorist has won. Now, me and Mark have been doing annual events at Christmas markets and locations on the run up to Christmas, just to remind people over the years that we need to be alert, that if you do see something, and this is exactly the advice that the police were handing out this week, that they should report suspicious behaviour, or even better, report people that are maybe going off the rails, maybe looking like they're going to do something like this, because really you only need a vehicle to do this, and that's the biggest concern. Areas with lots of people, and of course the law's going to change soon to put more regulation on those people organising events like this, to make sure that they do more to protect people against terrorist attack.
Indeed. The man who is believed to have been the attacker here is under arrest. I'll emphasise for anyone who's just been joining us now that he is understood to be a 50-year-old man who is Saudi Arabian. That is according to local police and German news sources, including Die Welt, a reputable German news source over there. The picture, when it comes to casualties, There is officially now 2 deaths. Some sources are reporting 11, but when it comes to some of the other injuries as well, 68 people have got injuries. A further 15 have got serious injuries, it says here. What you're looking at is a scene where there are 100 firefighters and 50 rescue personnel. So this is a massive ongoing incident there in Magdeburg. Chris, can I just say a big thank you to you? In fact, just while I've still got you, actually, in terms of what will be happening now, so will our counter-terrorism police be speaking to counter-terrorism officials in Germany? Will we be linking up? How will that information sharing be going?
Well, historically, the UK police through Five Eyes have had more information about terrorists in Europe than the countries themselves. So, yes, very much they will be linking into the system to see what's known about this person. And the investigation will go on. We don't know yet whether it's a bomb involved. We're taking it that is a terrorist attack. It almost certainly is. It fulfills all the criteria, apart from that we know at the moment the motive. And that is what the investigation will be trying to do. And, of course, they've got to be worried that he's not an actor on his own, that he might have a group of other people around him that may be going to do something similar. And the other interesting point, I think, Patrick, that was picked up on your report that didn't get picked out, really, was the fact that this has happened in a small town rather than in Berlin. Now, Berlin has spent a lot of money protecting their Christmas markets. It'll be interesting to find out how the smaller town like this, what they've done to do to protect their people, because you know, it's very easy to focus on the big set-piece showbiz events like Berlin and other capital cities. But we mustn't forget that, you know, our terrorist attacks recently have been in Manchester and not necessarily London. And I think all organisers of events should pay attention to this and make sure they're doing and liaising with the police to make sure there's enough protection and protective security around their event to protect people from this kind of attack.
Exactly. Look, Chris, thank you very much for your expertise tonight, and we may well end up calling you a little bit later on in the show, I'm afraid. But it's Chris Phillips there, who is the former head of National Counter-Terrorism Security, giving you his expertise. So information sharing will be currently taking place. I understand that for anybody watching this or listening to this show right now, and I understand that because I feel exactly the same way, by the way, which is that you want to go to Christmas markets, you want to go out there. People planning on doing a lot of shopping. We're in London at the moment. Oxford Street's going to be jam-packed tomorrow, full of people. And you see things like this, and it terrifies you. And that is what it is designed to do. I'm going to welcome our panellists as we stay on these live shots for the moment, but I've got journalist and broadcaster JJ Anasobi, I've got former Conservative MP Anna Firth, and I've also got the director of the Centre for Migration and Economic Prosperity, Stephen Wolfe, with me this evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. A slightly different show than the one we had planned. Stephen, I'll start with you. Enough of this, isn't it? We've had enough of this now.
Yeah, I'm upset, but I'm also angry. In fact, I'm more than that, I'm furious. I'm furious at the German politicians and those in Europe when we knew that there was 5 critical attacks by terrorists in 2016 that led eventually from people being hacked on trains to the 55 being injured and 12 killed in that Christmas attack. In 2019, there were 10 terrorist attacks by Islamists.
I'm just going to stop you there, because you said you were furious before. I'm getting some information in my ear now, and again, this is going to be very sensitive for people to hear. We have had it confirmed that one of the deaths is a small child.
Oh, no.
So this situation just keeps getting worse, unfortunately, live in Magdeburg there. So one of the 2 absolutely confirmed deaths is a small child. Stephen, I'll leave you for now just because I can see that you're getting quite emotional about that, and I understand it. Anna, how do we stop this? I emphasise, look, it's not yet been confirmed as a terrorist attack. It's not officially a terrorist attack. But how do we protect ourselves against this? A small-ish town in Germany. They haven't got the resources that Berlin would have, or like London has, Winter Wonderland, for example, here, with airport-style security on the way into it. How do we stop this?
Yeah, I mean, can I just say, first of all, Patrick, that I'm absolutely horrified by this. You know, as a mum myself, I was in London Wednesday evening. I walked past 2 Christmas markets that we've got, one in Trafalgar Square, one in Leicester Square, and it's incomprehensible that something like that could happen. But how do we actually prevent these wicked, and that's the only word to use, this is a wicked attack at a time when we should be, if of any time in the year, when any focus should be on peace, it's got to be now. And the only way that we're going to, I mean, in the short term, we're going to have to rely on intelligence sharing. And interesting, the warnings that have already gone out around Christmas markets all around the country. We are going to have to rely on people being vigilant, but the police have got to be present.
Just getting an update on the man who's been arrested here. So, the state premier is on record now saying that he is a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia. So, the man who's been arrested in connection with this attack is a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia, according to German sources. You're looking at live shots there of Magdeburg. Again, just earlier this morning, here in Britain, there was a statement issued that said the public needs to report any potential terrorists at Christmas markets and pantos and pantomimes. This is clearly intelligence-led. And then you see this happening. Tip-offs have gone up 50% in the past year, but police say they still need help as we approach the final days of Christmas. JJ, I'll bring you in now on this. I don't think we should have to live like this, going to pantos, Christmas markets, doing your shopping in a small town in Germany, and this happens.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to, but unfortunately, it's impossible to stop, impossible to mitigate. What will help is if the politicians were honest. Rather than tomorrow, Schultz might come out and make a statement saying the person who did this had mental health issues. Right, well, you can't blame mental health issues every time there's a terrorist attack. Terrorist attacks are terrorism attacks. It's got to be called out, and we've got to be honest and direct about that kind of thing. Unfortunately, as we saw, do you remember the Ariana Grande concert? Whether it's a pop concert, whether it's a Christmas market, whether it's football stadiums, we're talking backstage about Arsenal Football Club, the Emirates. They've got huge, massive cannons which are supposed to be emblematic of the football club, but they're there to stop cars from coming through. Unfortunately, this is part of our daily life now, and we don't even notice it. We just think it's part of the furniture. But more has to be done. There has to be more honesty, and there's got to be more action, more punishment taken. If we know this guy's from Saudi Arabia, what's our government going to do now to Saudi Arabia to say this is one of your people?
Very true, very interesting. Breaking news: we are hearing reports that local media are saying that an explosive has been found at the scene in Magdeburg. So what do we know so far? Look, an explosive device has been found. Stephen, this is, he was obviously planning on doing much worse, wasn't he?
He clearly was trying to do a lot more damage and murder to people. At the weekend, I was at the Winchester market, Christmas market, beautiful market with my daughter. That could have been her if it was a similar situation. There's a family now in Germany feeling that pain. And not only that, as I was listing all of those terrorist attacks in Germany that have gone on, a lot more than actually has happened in this country, we are seeing our culture change because of terrorism. We're seeing our Christmases destroyed because of terrorism. We're seeing the inaction of governments who will not do the things that we demand of them, which is greater deterrence. We should be bringing back the death penalty for these people, not allowing them to sit their time in prisons. We should be having stronger action towards those countries that produce these evil individuals. Yeah. It's time and time again that we are having to suffer with our culture and our families because of these people. Enough is enough. And if the German people do not rise up and demonstrate against the inaction of this government, either through politics or elections, then they need to do something else that's stronger than that.
Elections there. Anna, this is where I can bring you in, because the 2025 elections in Germany, the federal elections, were due to take place in September. They've been moved forward to the 23rd of February. So that's a couple of months away now, isn't it? Almost exactly 2 months away. Now, we've seen this. We also saw a few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, an attack, ironically, at a festival of diversity in Sollenberg by a Syrian asylum seeker. 3 people killed there. It's on top of all sorts that's taken place in Germany. This, what we're looking at on our screens right now, will have an impact on those elections.
Oh, I'm sure it will, and of course it should do, because I think this is about the 5th terrorist attack that Germany has suffered. You know, this is not an isolated incident, and you would hope that by now the German intelligence services, the German military, the German police force would have got on top of that. And February is an opportunity for the German people to say exactly what they think about this.
It is.
No doubt they will.
It absolutely is. And, JJ, I just want to further something you were mentioning earlier. Counter-terror chiefs have warned here in Britain of the smouldering UK terror threat. Again, I'll stress, as it currently stands right now, this in Germany has not been officially outlined as a terrorist attack. So I'm going to caveat that. We've all got eyes and we can see what's happening, but we await official confirmation. 3 late-stage terrorist attacks have been foiled here in Britain in the past 12 months. A lot of people online, on social media, are making the same point. They're very angry with our political class for what they perceive to be a problem that, in many cases, we have allowed in.
Yeah, I mean, if people are suggesting that these foiled attempts in the UK are from people who've come across on the small boats, we need to know more information about it.
Yeah,
there is a part to play in British foreign affairs and other countries where we've gone into and disrupted. There's a part to play in that for certain. But if there's a terror attack in this country, it shouldn't just be the terrorist himself or herself who is then put in prison. I would say the family also. If they've got family in this country, they should be kicked out as well. They should also be interrogated, put in prison. Then once they've served their time, kick them out.
Just to get a sense of the scale of this attack, between 60 to 80 people are known to be injured, and the live shots that you're seeing there is people are still being put in the back of ambulances.
I'm sure.
As we speak right now. That's what we were seeing. Some of those ambulances have started to leave the scene. An explosive device has been found, according to local reports. So,
and we still don't know if there's going to be more fatalities in the coming hours.
It looks as though it's on the scale of 2016.
It looks
Remind us of what that was.
So 2016 was the lorry running through the market. It was the 5th of 5 attacks that happened in a row, including a Syrian asylum applicant who slashed the throat of a young boy in a train, if we remember that.
Yep.
And that was the beginning of what seemed a very coordinated set of attacks. What concerns me about this is, with all the warnings that you've mentioned in this country, we know that those warnings have also been done by Europol in Europe as well. We've had similar sorts of messages going through. This is clearly a first attack. We've also had the United States saying that they took out an ISIS general today in a bomb attack.
Right.
So we've had a huge amount of information coming through, warnings coming through, and attacks on individuals. That means that somewhere along the line, either ISIS or Al-Qaeda or similar groups are on the rise. And here we have, in Syria, we've allowed one of them to take over a country. What could possibly go wrong? This is what possibly goes wrong when our politicians have their heads in the sand.
Can I just introduce, if you stay where you are, please, if I just introduce former soldier and police officer and security expert Henry Bolton, who is on the line for us now. Henry, thank you very much. Look, I'll reiterate for everybody, in case people are just joining us, the official death toll is 2. It may be as high as 11. 60 to 80 people injured, people still injured at the scene. A 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor has been arrested. There was an explosive device found in his car. Henry, just to pick up on what Stephen was saying there, just today, we were told here, again, to be very vigilant at Christmas markets and pantomimes. We were told that there were 3 late-stage attacks foiled. Same warnings across the continent, same warnings in America. What is going on? It was clearly something big is happening.
Well, we must remember, Patrick, that these warnings from the intelligence agencies pretty much come out every Christmas. You know, and as Stephen, I think it was earlier, referred to, there have been a number of attacks over the last 20 years against Christmas markets, the worst one being the one that he referred to in Berlin with the truck. Now, that's not insignificant that they're Christmas markets. Now we're talking not necessarily simply about today. We're talking about proven terror attacks against Christmas markets. Now, Christmas markets are a focus for terrorist attention in Europe, and that indicates to any thinking person that this is our culture under attack. There are those people who are in Europe, who are offended, who are in some way provoked by our Christmas markets. Now, the problem is that we have allowed such people into Europe. And Germany has a big problem, not only because Angela Merkel previously pretty much opened the doors to people that, you know, without any vetting, and Germany has a huge population and a huge diaspora that's networked back into Syria and all of these other places that actually sort of enables terrorists to communicate, to plan and so on. And also Germany, one of the reasons that Germany does...
Can I just, Henry,
view,
sorry about this, Henry. I'm going to come back to you right now, but I just want to bring an update to people. We are getting reports through here that German police have now evacuated a second Christmas market in the city of Erfurt. These are all just reports from German outlets. The latest there is that apparently German police have now evacuated a second Christmas market in the city of Erfurt. And I'm just having a look on a map here now to see how far away that is from Magdeburg. It is probably about, it's difficult for me to say really here. I mean, it's probably the same distance that it is. It's further south in Germany, and it's, roughly about that. And it's kind of equidistant, really, between Magdeburg and Berlin as it is south. So we're going to keep you updated on that. That's unconfirmed at the moment, but it appears as though, I mean, that's concerning. And Henry, just to pick up with you on this for now, in your experience, or when you're looking at something like this now, how likely do you think this is potentially part of a coordinated attack, really?
It's very difficult to say, Patrick. If it's a terrorist attack, and all the indicators are that it is, particularly with the explosive devices and so on, I mean, you know, it's a no-brainer. By the way, Patrick, isn't it interesting that the German authorities are feeding this sort of information to the public almost sort of in real time? Compare that to Southport. But it's impossible to tell whether this is coordinated. A lot of attacks are lone wolf type attacks. There could be a number of them that have been triggered simply by Christmas markets. We don't know. We're going to have to wait for the information coming out of the intelligence agencies and so on to know that. But the point is that around Christmas you have large concentrations of people. You also have Christian sort of based event, a physical opportunity to the terrorists to launch an attack. Now the problem is that this is growing. Now, sort of thinking about immigration and so on, I know from my direct experience, because I was involved in the surveillance operation that detected this, fundamentalists moved into a people smuggling network. They weren't economic migrants. They were introduced to a people smuggling network by a terrorist organization with the purpose of getting them into a Scandinavian country to recruit people locally amongst the sort of the Muslim population there to conduct terrorist attacks. Now, we have got a very complex set of issues here. And as I think, again, Stephen said, the reality is that our politicians do not like difficult problems, and they seem incapable of coming up with complex solutions, which is what we need. Well,
Henry, what I'll do is, you mentioned politicians there, and I think that is a good opportunity for me to bring in a German politician. Henry, can I thank you very much for tonight? We may well end up going back to you at some point as this story develops. I'm going to introduce now German MEP Lars Patrick Berg, who I understand, former MEP, sorry, who I understand is in Stuttgart for us now. Lars, thank you very much. Obviously, you know, difficult circumstances to talk about. What are you hearing from the scene, and what is your reaction as we understand that as many as potentially 11 people have now been killed in this Christmas market attack?
Good evening. This is a very sad and very tragic situation and moment for the people of Magdeburg and for the people in Germany. And indeed, security authorities in Germany have announced an abstract high security threat to Christmas markets a couple of months ago. And police has been patrolling Christmas markets throughout the country, intensively checking personal luggage, and the Christmas markets have been protected by bollards and concrete blocks. Nevertheless, this tragic and terrible incident happened today. So people are in shock. It's really terrible. And obviously there'll be more than, so far, 2 dead confirmed, more than 60, 70 people injured, many of them severely. So it's really very, very terrible.
In Germany, though, what's the mood been like even before this in Germany? Because we saw an attack at a festival of diversity a few months ago in Solingen, where a Syrian refugee stabbed several people to death. The political reaction to that was to try to make some noises about deporting people, stopping illegal migrants entering the country, and getting tougher on immigration. And yet here we are in Magdeburg now in Germany with a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian man currently in custody, having ploughed through a Christmas market and with a bomb in his car. So what do the public feel like in Germany at the moment?
Well, apart from being shocked, people are getting not only very angry, but the pressure is rising on the political parties, especially, of course, on the still ruling coalition in Berlin. And there needs to be something that is, there needs to be a change of the immigration or migration policy, because it is well known now, unfortunately, that we had all these incidents in Mannheim last year. This year, a police officer was stabbed and killed by an Islamist. In Solingen, the incident, now this part that happened today at the Christmas market in Magdeburg. And people want change. They want that migration is being controlled, that we have a control of what kind of people are entering Europe and entering Germany. And I think this is really important that things are going to change. Otherwise, the pressure will be so strong that the anger will find a different way to change things.
Go on, Lars. We have had absolute confirmation that one of the people killed is a young child here. Now, it doesn't really... Any death is bad, but that's the kind of thing that really, really hammers this home. And the question is, how many times, Lars, does this have to happen? Britain might have voted for Brexit, but we are still part of Europe, and we all feel these things very, very deeply. We've had attacks here. You've had attacks over there. The French have had so many attacks. There was an attack in Barcelona, down the main street of Barcelona, a few years ago as well. There was a terror attack foiled in Vienna recently at a Taylor Swift concert. It's time and time and time again. And look, I'm very sorry to ask this, Lars, but I think I will. At what point do people start to wonder whether or not, you know, diversity and multiculturalism has actually worked, really?
Well, this attack that occurred today brings up memories, sad memories of the attack 2016 in Berlin that was carried out by a Tunisian Islamist who killed 13 people and injured more than 40 or 50 with a truck. And people are fed up. They are really fed up. It's time now for the ruling coalition and after the snap elections next year in February, for the incoming government and parties to change migration policy, because it is very naive not to know who entered the country and what kind of people are planning these terrible and ghastly attacks.
What is the sense like in Germany, Lars, about what needs to actually happen? Well, you've got elections coming up. Now, I'm going to read a comment out here from an individual called Humza Yousaf, who was the former First Minister of Scotland and former leader of the SNP. This was 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago, Humza Yousaf tweeted, "The world's richest man endorsing the far right in Germany." He says, "A party that proudly adopted being anti-Islam as official policy and had a whole chapter of their manifesto titled Islam Does Not Belong to Germany." That's Humza Yousaf's tweet about Elon Musk saying that he's backing the AfD in Germany at the next elections. I just wonder, Lars, how you feel these next elections, which are in February, are going to go in Germany in light of this attack.
Well, this attack will certainly boost support for parties that are very critical to uncontrolled migration. Nevertheless, let me be really frank. In a nutshell, I think we have to differentiate between people in Germany and elsewhere who've been here for decades and who abide to the law and who are contribute to the country, who are Muslims, and those people who try to carry out attacks, who want to establish a caliphate and turn over our Western values. And I think this is very important, and this is a very difficult task for the incoming government. Otherwise, I think parties who are really very radical and will probably gain more support if this problem isn't tackled.
OK, Lars, thank you very much for joining us this evening and for giving us that perspective from Germany. I hope you stay safe as well. That is former German MEP Lars Patrick Berg. I'm going to just bring you a quote here from Olaf Scholz, who's the German Chancellor. "The reports from Magdeburg suggest something bad. It's possibly the understatement of the year. My thoughts are with the victims and their families, and we stand by their side and by the side of the people of Magdeburg. My thanks go to the dedicated rescue workers in these anxious hours." Just to recap, a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian man has been arrested at the scene. There was an explosive device found in his car. He managed to drive at speed, and we are not showing you the video of the actual attack.
It's too horrendous.
It's horrific. It's horrific. We are not showing you that video. I have seen it, and what it shows is a speeding vehicle driving straight through a pedestrian walkway at a Christmas market with stalls either side. That was full of people, full of people. It then veers off to the right once it gets out of that market, hitting more people as it goes, and there is a roadway. Now, that is where the car came to a halt and armed police were on the scene. The man then got out of the car. In a way, Stephen, that is quite interesting in itself, because if he had an explosive device in his car, he's a Saudi Arabian man. This has not yet been confirmed as an Islamist terror attack, I'm at pains to say. But sometimes, when you do see Islamist terror attacks, they actually want to die, don't they? And he might have had the opportunity to do that there. He appears to have stopped the car and got out of it when police asked him to. Quite strange.
That is strange, particularly if the reports are correct that he's got a bomb in the car, and one can't speculate. You know, you can think of this as though it's some sort of American movie where he gets out, entices the police and brings a bomb up and blows a lot more. Well, we can't really think about that. It is very weird. I mean, it does bring back memories to me, because I was in a flat in Brussels when the bomb went off in the tube.
Oh, God.
So I was there at that time, and I came down and I watched the aftermath of that, and the police were incredibly swift and sensible, I think, in the way that they dealt with it, and I'm sure that the German police are doing exactly that. But what it does bring down to me is 2 points. One is Olaf Scholz's statement there is just you've taken the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say that. This is the kind of banal, PR-generated statement that all leaders of the Western world will say.
You in this, and all you, because you were a politician as well, but let down by our political class, really. We're seeing all of this across Europe. We see thoughts and prayers. We do a candlelight vigil. We do a big thing on, you know, remember Je suis Charlie, the Charlie Hebdo attacks. Absolutely. They made a big deal about that. Yeah. We've seen all sorts. We have all of these events, and then nothing happens. And the only thing that does happen is stuff like this happens
again. But his thoughts are with the rescue workers. I mean, obviously...
A child died.
Yes. What about the parents?
A child has been killed
about the civilians?
by a Saudi Arabian man, it seems, driving his car, has to be to a Christmas market.
But it's a terrible statement. It's poorly worded, terrible statement. I presume he's trying to calm tensions, because what he doesn't want now is there to be riots across Germany. That is politicking. And we don't like it, but what he's doing is what he thinks is best for the country as a whole. Because, of course, it's going to be a powder keg. It's important for us to differentiate between terrorists and terrorist attackers and Muslims. I'm presuming this guy from Saudi Arabia is Muslim. I'm presuming that based on the fact that
we don't want to see riots, but don't we want to see a rising up of the people with serious demonstrations against this political class that have ignored them for decades?
I think we want...
Stay where you are. Sorry to cut across you, but we're going to have to just go to the end of the hour now. When we come back, we're straight back on this. Very latest, potentially about 11 people have died, including a small child, in what has not yet been officially called a terror attack in Germany. More on that very shortly. Stay tuned.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there. If you've got travel plans over the weekend, it's worth staying in touch with the weather conditions because it is turning increasingly windy, especially in the north and the west. That wind coming from the northwest will make it feel colder, with some wintry showers by Sunday morning. We do have a spell of rain and gusty winds clearing through during the evening. Then a gap between weather systems. Clear spells for England and Wales later evening, but overnight that gap is squeezed out by arriving cloud from the west and spells of wet and windy weather pushing into Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England and Wales by dawn. That, of course, will make it feel mild as we start off Saturday in the far northwest. In the south and southeast, clear spells will mean that it's going to be a touch colder, likewise for northeast Scotland. But we do have a lot of cloud first thing. The wind's picking up strength. Outbreaks of rain are moving through much of England and Wales. Brighter skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but here the strongest winds arrive after the cloud clears and a lot of showers. These showers moving in thick and fast across central and western Scotland as well as Northern Ireland. Heavy at times and perhaps with some sleet and snow mixed in over hills later on into the afternoon. The wind will pick up through the day, peaking during the morning and into the afternoon for northern and western Scotland. The risk for the far northwest of wind gusts of 80 miles an hour or more. Elsewhere across northern UK, we can expect 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. So the potential for transport disruption, and that risk continues into Sunday with the wind continuing to be strong all the way across northern and western parts of the UK. In addition to that, we've got showers, and first thing, don't be surprised if you see a few flakes of snow mixed in with those showers, even at lower levels across the Midlands, Northern England and Wales, but they'll turn back to rain later. Much milder weather arrives for Christmas and some rain in the northwest.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. A car has ploughed through a Christmas market in Germany. At least 2 people have been confirmed dead, including a small child. We can bring you the latest images from Germany now. This is footage of the scene where a few hours ago, a car driven by a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian man hurtled through a jam-packed Christmas market. At least 60 to 80 people have been injured. The driver has been arrested. He was not believed to have been... To get to you tonight, though, as well, including this.
Whitechapel in East London. A hardline vigilante group is trying to impose Sharia law on unsuspecting members of the public.
A judge used a fatwa decreed by a Sharia court to help decide a case here in Britain.
This is where the scholars would normally sit and have our consultation meeting with the husband and wife sat on each side.
Why is everyone too afraid to tackle the scourge of Sharia law in modern Britain? Also,
Meet the jobless Phillips family, who have lived off state benefits for the last 20 years.
Yet more than half of households now are paid more in benefits than they pay in taxes. I think this madness has to stop. And
look at this, guys, for a community out in numbers. Look at that.
Labour councils are on the brink as the government makes them house too many illegal immigrants. Is your area one of the worst affected? Plus,
I believe in honour, integrity.
Well, Labour's anti-corruption minister is now accused of being part of a multi-billion-pound embezzlement scandal. All of that and much more. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. I've got a very first look here, which I'll show you in more detail in a second, of tomorrow's Daily Mail, which I'm bringing you earlier on. Carnage at Christmas markets. And for more on this now, our Home Security Editor Mark White joins us. Mark, this is a fast-moving picture. Thank you very much for keeping us updated. It is yet another devastating incident at a Christmas market in Europe, Mark.
With every passing hour, the story from Magdeburg in northeastern Germany just becomes all the more alarming, with more details coming all of the time on the number of people who've been caught up in this, and of course the absolutely shocking news that you brought us not that long ago, Patrick, that a child is among the 2 people that have been confirmed dead at this hour. The state governor in the area confirming that 68 people have been injured in this. 15 of those are severely injured. Some 37 others who, according to officials, are suffering from moderate injuries. You're looking at images there of Magdeburg. These, the emergency service vehicles, row after row of ambulances up there. One witness speaking to local reporters said it resembled a war zone within the market, with bodies scattered everywhere in and around the market stalls, some of those that have been demolished as well, as paramedics and other members of the emergency services triaged the injured, taking the most seriously injured to major trauma centres. Others, as I say, that have been less seriously injured would have been taken away, but they're at the back of the queue in terms of the response. But an absolutely horrific incident that's unfolding. Everybody, of course, understandably, will have terrorism right at the top of their minds at this time. We always get a lag in terms of official confirmation coming from authorities, but everything I've seen tells me that this, at the very least, was a deliberate ramming attack. We've seen video that shows that vehicle being driven at high speed into that marketplace and not slowing down, continuing on with bodies scattering either side of the vehicle. A 50-year-old man is in custody. It's been confirmed that he is a doctor who works in an area hospital in that area of Germany.
This is interesting, right? This is interesting. So this is the new detail about this alleged attacker. Then, so go on. So 50-year-old doctor,
a Saudi Arabian national who has lived in Germany since 2006 and works at one of the regional medical centres in that part of northeastern Germany. Absolutely shocking. I'm sure that doctors' colleagues who may well be involved in treating some of the casualties from this event, will be as traumatised and shocked as everyone else as the police try to piece together exactly what's happened. And we're reporting a little earlier as well about an explosive device that authorities believe was in that vehicle. They've been exploring the vehicle inch by inch out of an abundance of caution, and we await word on what that device may have been, whether it was an IED, an improvised explosive device. Yeah. It would not be uncommon for terrorists in particular to carry explosive devices with them in vehicles as part of their attack planning. We've seen it in other vehicle-borne attacks in the past. And there is real concern, Patrick, at the moment across Europe about a resurgence from the terrorist group ISIS and from Al-Qaeda.
Talk to us about that, Mark, because, look, again, this is not yet confirmed as a terrorist attack. I'll just say exactly what I said before, which is that we've all got eyes and we've all got some experience of similar attacks, and they tend to turn out to be terror attacks. So that's that. You mentioned that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are on the rise again. We had an annus horribilis for this kind of stuff back around 2016 when there was attack after attack after attack. It seemed like every other week there was an issue that was taking place. Do you fear that this could be the start of something like that?
Well, that was at the very peak of the ISIS threat, 2016 into 2017. So 2016, we saw all these attacks taking place in Paris. And then in 2017, it began with the attack on Westminster Bridge, the attack, of course, at the Ariana Grande concert that was taking place in Manchester, the London Bridge attack that also followed in that year. It was a very nasty, bloody year, all linked to ISIS at that point. So you can understand just how concerned authorities in the UK and elsewhere in Europe are about a resurgence of ISIS. But that's exactly what Vicky Evans, who is the National Counter-Terrorism Coordinator for counter-terrorism policing in the UK, told me a little earlier this week, and indeed the Director General of MI5, Ken McCallum, said just a couple of months ago, it is the main threat picture that they are preoccupied with at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. And just to try to localise it here, in case people are wondering, well, how is this affecting us here in Britain as we take in their images of ambulances and fire trucks and police lining a street there in Magdeburg, 80 people injured roughly, 2 people confirmed dead, one of them a small child, a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor under arrest, an explosive found in his car. Well, there are reports coming through tonight from Manchester. Manchester has got a huge Christmas market. It has had a Christmas market there for years and years and years. There's reports coming through about the deserted streets in parts of Manchester this evening. What they called Mad Friday has not happened. It's the Friday before Christmas. We've got people expecting to go shopping on busy streets tomorrow, to go to Christmas markets. Look at this from earlier on this year. Manchester Police, don't worry, at our Christmas market, we will have armed police officers as you enjoy the festivities. We've had bollards popping up everywhere, haven't we? Armed police in Guildford, bollards just around the country. I think there's some in Dorking. I mean, there's some everywhere you look. You don't even necessarily say, I mean, here's York, for example. There's some bollards in York there. It is actually for events a bit like this and to stop events like this. And I have got a video that we can remind ourselves of James Cleverly when he was Home Secretary talking about the threat at Christmas markets. Just remind ourselves of that.
If something doesn't look right, go with your instincts, contact the police. They're here to help, and they're here to make sure everyone can enjoy Christmas in safety and security.
Well, we can't, can we, Mark? And I don't want to take the focus too much away from what's ongoing in Magdeburg now, but this is an issue for us here as well, isn't it?
It's absolutely an issue for us here. Crowded places, particularly at this time of year, you're thinking of Christmas markets, carol services, church services, the kind of events, concerts where people are gathering in numbers. So just think back to 2017 and the Ariana Grande concert. That wasn't during the festive period, but it was a crowded place. The bridge at Westminster or London Bridge, those were crowded places, the Borough Market after the London Bridge attack. That's what terrorists look to find as many people as possible to cause as much harm as they can. And that's why, particularly at this time of year, when, as a Christian nation, we come together to celebrate this very important festival in the Christian calendar, there are many more people than normal gathering in crowded events. So that is why the authorities are extra vigilant and extra concerned at this time of year.
Indeed. So some political reaction for you. We've got Antonio Costa, the president of the European Council, saying he's appalled by the horrific news from Magdeburg. The EU stands in solidarity with Germany. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has put a post out on X saying he is profoundly shocked. I would politely push back on our friend Emmanuel there and say, unfortunately, I don't think that many people are shocked by this stuff anymore. And some of our political leaders maybe need to have a look at themselves. France shares the pain of the German people and expresses its full solidarity. We also have Dick Schoof, who is the Dutch Prime Minister. The Netherlands stands shoulder to shoulder with our German neighbours in these dark moments. As yet, nothing from Keir Starmer. So we haven't heard anything from Keir Starmer. We have had some political, well, I'm not going to call it reaction, because to be fair to him, he tweeted this minutes before the attack. However, Humza Yousaf did tweet, the former First Minister of Scotland, very shortly before the attack, I mean genuinely minutes before, the world's richest man endorsing the far right in Germany, a party that proudly adopted being anti-Islam. He's making a comment there about Elon Musk potentially backing the AfD in Germany. A bit tone deaf. He has not deleted that tweet, so that tweet is still up there.
Well, indeed, and we have heard from Elon Musk tonight, who's calling for the immediate resignation of Chancellor Olaf Scholz, given what is unfolding in Germany tonight. Now, the fact is, Olaf Scholz is very probably going anyway because of the collapse of the coalition government, and elections that were due for September of next year have been brought forward to February. So a great deal of sort of turmoil within political circles in Germany anyway. And that's another factor here, is the electorate and the politicians are going to begin campaigning at a time, of course, when politicians are campaigning, they're out and about in the public. They are much more insecure because they want to be open and accessible. That is something else for the authorities to have to mitigate for, to try to guard against.
Geert Wilders has just tweeted. He is, of course, the Dutch politician, and he says, "Thank you, Angela," a reference to Angela Merkel there and her policy of throwing the borders open some years ago. Again, I'll stress that this has not yet been confirmed as a terrorist attack. A 50-year-old man who is Saudi Arabian, who Mark was telling us has apparently lived in Germany since 2006, is in police custody. I'm just going to introduce now a guest that we have who's, I believe, in Berlin. And this is the Deputy Leader of Rejoin EU Party, Richard Morley. Richard, thank you for hanging on the line for us there. I know that you've been sitting there a little while. This is absolutely devastating news, sadly all too common at the moment. You're in Berlin, I believe. Can I just ask what the kind of general mood is like there, what you think the reaction to this might be?
Well, hello, Patrick, again, and thank you for having me. The mood in Berlin, of course, is depressed that such a thing could ever happen. And a degree of amazement. People are shocked because we all thought that the ISIS issue was over some years ago. We haven't had any such incidents for 6 or 8 years now in Germany. And it comes at a time when the elections are just about to be held, and AfD, the right-wing party in Germany, is making enormous inroads into the political scene. And we've seen in America how unusual and new parties seem to sort of come up and take the electorate. And that seems to be happening here in Germany as well. I think that it's not necessarily an ISIS-linked attack, because the profile of the man arrested, a 50-year-old doctor who's been in Germany for nearly 20 years, without any known Islamic connections. That's a very important point here. You know, there is a service operating, and I'm sure had he had such connections, they would have already known that. So he doesn't fit the normal profile of a terrorist working for ISIS. However, there are...
We'll stay with you, Richard. This is footage earlier on from Magdeburg, and this is live, actually. We have now regained a live feed from Magdeburg, so we are 3 hours or so on from this devastating attack. Emergency Services President. Richard, thank you. Sorry, we cut you off there. I'm just going to go back to you, because I will politely push back on something that you said there, Richard, which is that there hasn't been much of an ISIS presence in the last few years. Unfortunately, ISIS did claim responsibility for an attack in Sollenberg just a few months ago. We are being told by our security services that ISIS are on the rise. Now, Richard, I don't want to try to, make the tone even worse here or anything. You are the Deputy Leader of Rejoin EU, and with absolute respect, one of the darlings of the European Union was Angela Merkel, and a lot of people do blame Angela Merkel for the current state of the terror threat in Germany. And I wonder if this is just another example, frankly, of that, which is that this kind of Europhile desire to have mass immigration, especially from parts of the Middle East, etc., it actually can have devastating consequences, Richard. I mean, a small child is known to have died this evening.
It's a terrible event without question, but we mustn't rush to conclusions. This man is not a recent immigrant. Having been resident in Germany for 20 years and a professional man working in a clinicum inside Magdeburg, he is, as I say, not the typical profile one would expect from an ISIS operative. However, of course, he may well be. I can't say that he isn't. But there are other issues around which may have affected this outcome. For example, Magdeburg is an area where there are a lot of pro-RFD supporters. And a man of Arabic descent may well find himself...
I'm just going to cut you off there, Richard, because I think I worry for you that you are in danger of blaming people who are pro-AFD for a Saudi Arabian man smashing a car through a Christmas market and killing several of them, and including a small child. I don't think that if you happen to be, maybe I did, and I don't want to have a go, but I think, I certainly, there can be no excuse for an individual smashing through a Christmas market, Richard, surely?
None whatsoever. And this was, if you've seen the video, you would have seen it was quite a disgusting act, because he drove into the crowd at enormous speed, at least 70 miles an hour, obviously quite deliberately, with intent to kill and injure. There's no question that this man is a terrorist. What we're trying to work out is why he did it. And that is an issue.
Well, on that note, Richard, and can I just say a massive thank you for joining us this evening. I really do appreciate it. It's Richard Morley there, who's the Deputy Leader of Rejoin EU. He's in Berlin, saying that there is palpable anger there. On that last note from Richard about why he did it, well, today, Steve, my panel is back with me, by the way. We've got Stephen Wolf, we've got Anna Firth, we've got JJ Ansobi. The leader of ISIS was killed today. And I can't help but wonder if these two things are linked.
It may well be. Again, I would have normally thought for several weeks before, if I was in intelligence services, they might be able to give us a better idea. But what I am deeply disturbed about is some of the tweets that I'm seeing, such as that from Humza Yousaf, the former SNP leader, and also from Mr. Morley then, who are trying to self-flagellate themselves by saying, the blame should be sitting on the cultural changes that are in Germany for the AFD.
Tweet. That's Humza Yousaf's tweet. Yeah. This is about Elon Musk essentially endorsing the AFD today. So it says the world's richest man endorsing the far right. He goes on to talk about how they're anti-Islam. The UK government should take action and ensure Musk can't buy our elections.
I think a 50-year-old terrorist or alleged terrorist, Saudi Arabian alleged murderer, why we have to put alleged for all the things when we're watching it in front of our own eyes, but that's Ofcom for you. There we are, has done more to help the AFD than Elon Musk could ever have done so, I think. And I think when Humza Yousaf makes a statement like that, he should look at that kind of list from 2016 to where we are today of all the terrorist attacks that have occurred in Germany linked to those people who are Islam. I take JJ's point, which is very important, in the first session, that there are people who have fled countries of terrorism to live their lives and settled in here, and we can't blame them. But why Mr. Morley is wrong, this man may have been here for 20 years, but when we have a flood of people coming into our countries from different cultures who have people who embed themselves into society, they can start to indoctrinate. And that was your point on that too, Jack. Indoctrination can occur over that period of time to turn a 20-year-old medical or doctor into a terrorist.
Well, this is it. And we know about sleeper cells. People see me occasionally on my phone whilst my guests are talking. I hope you don't think I'm being rude. You can understand that I get a lot of information in situations like this from my phone, and it's a fast-moving picture. Just to give an example, Anna, of the extent to which people's lives are impacted by stuff like this now, we have some footage that has come through of Berlin, of Christmas markets in Berlin, the level of security that they have to go through in order to get to one of these things. I think we can play you a little clip of this. So this is a Christmas market, well, the way into it anyway. So you've got these swerving bollards there, so you cannot build up enough speed to drive in a fast line like what we saw in Magdeburg earlier on, where the car just steamed straight through. It's all in a curvature. You've got bollards all on the sides, and that there where you would get into a Christmas market. The extent that we have to go through, Anna, for our daily lives, airport security to get into Winter Wonderland here, bollards everywhere that we go. This is for an Islamist terror threat, isn't it? I just don't think the general public can put up with much more of this. I'm amazed that we've put up with it for this long.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And the thing that really does worry me on seeing those precautions, and I suspect that was a Berlin Christmas market. How on earth was this car able to get so close to this Christmas market? It really does, and I'm not in any way putting the responsibility on the local town authorities or the police, but there is something a bit wrong there. We now know they're taking precautions in other Christmas markets in Germany. We see how the precautions in Berlin. We know this has happened before in Germany. I do ask the question, what went wrong here with their precautions?
I agree. JJ, can I just ask, we know what happens next. We will see a bit of a vigil. We will probably see some kind of AFD march and maybe just normal, ordinary people in the local area coming out and doing some kind of march. And then we're going to see a wave of headlines about the far right. And I am concerned about militant elements of the far right because I don't want to see anyone get killed. I don't want to see anything like that. I'm also very sick of seeing things like this and then the focus immediately afterwards being about the reaction to it. I'd rather we just stop this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a reason why these kind of incidents are happening at family-orientated events. There's football matches with many more people on every day, every weekend, and this isn't happening as frequently at those kind of places, because if these idiots came to a football stadium, the men who are mostly going to those places are going to fight back. Kids are not going to be able to fight back. Mums with their kids having a night time are not going to fight back. But I was thinking earlier, you asked the question, what can we do to stop this? I only have 2 words for you. Donald Trump. Thank God he's coming in next. Thank God it's going to be under him, because ISIS, they can do all this stuff. We, as a people, have to keep on going out. We have to keep on going to the Christmas markets. We can't let them win by having them disturb our day-to-day life.
I'm going to come back to you in a second. Joining us now is former military intelligence officer Philip Ingram. Philip, thank you again. I appreciate you been sitting on the line there for a little while for us. Thank you for hanging on. I want to know your initial take to this as we come to terms with yet another attack, a Christmas market, an attack, I think, really on Christian culture, on everyone, isn't it?
Well, OK, what we've seen this evening is absolutely shocking. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. What we haven't got is the detail as to exactly what's happened. So it's very easy for us to speculate and suggest it's terrorist activity. But, did the individual that's ploughed into these people have a medical event that's caused them to do that, or her to do that? We don't know. And the trouble is, what we start to do with a lack of information is speculate. And that speculation that starts to happen... Could I just push back slightly,
Philip? Sorry, apparently they did find a bomb in his car.
OK, I haven't seen that detail yet on the bomb that's in there. So what we're starting to see is the potential of an incident that is related to a number of things that have happened in previous Christmas events. Now, again, we haven't had that confirmed because there's an awful lot of speculation about what's going on without a lack of detail that's there. Until we get that lack of detail, whilst we speculate, what that's going to do is stimulate reaction amongst a number of other people in a way against communities that may not necessarily be related to what's going on. And when we don't exactly know what's happening, that in itself is dangerous. We have to be really careful about speculating. And whenever...
I'll tell you what, just on that note, I'll just go with... I'll go with everything that I've got here, Philip, based on both local reports from security services and reports from the news wires like Reuters, that a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian man who's been in the country since 2006, who is a doctor, drove a car at speeds of around 70 miles an hour through a Christmas market that was full of people, families. One child is confirmed dead. Another person is confirmed dead. There's reports that around 11 people are dead as well, actually. In fact, that is on the front page of the Daily Mail. They have gone for 11 dead and up to 80 injured. An explosive device was found in the man's car. This is according to police on the scene. He was not previously known to security services. Yeah. So, OK, well, Philip, without speculating too much, other than what we know there then, could you just talk to me about the difficulty with stopping lone wolf attacks and how concerned we should be about them here at the moment in Britain, please?
Oh, it's very difficult indeed, and especially at this time of the year. Whenever you're getting individuals that are being self-motivated for whatever reason, they're being self-motivated, whether it be a political reason, whether it be a religious reason, whether it be something that we would class as terrorist, whether it be something else. We're expecting our security services to try and have this 2020 foresight, the ability to predict what is going to happen by monitoring what's going on. And when we look at the access that we have to the grooming that's online, the information that's online, and then combine that with people who may potentially have issues within their lives that allow them to be groomed, it's exceptionally difficult, and I would say virtually impossible to get to a position where you could eradicate anyone who wants to do this sort of thing. And the information that you're providing to me now, which I hadn't seen beforehand, suggests that there could well have been an individual who has something that's caused him to flip, and he's gone and attacked into this crowd. We don't know what his motivation is.
It's one of many, though, Philip. This is the thing. This is the problem, right? Which is that, I absolutely hear what you're saying. I absolutely hear what you're saying, and you are a man with tremendous expertise, and I'm certainly not criticising you at all. But time and time again, the public here in Britain or across Europe are told, this is an individual with mental health problems, or we're being told, and I'm sorry, but Islamism is a mental health problem, right? And that's what we see. And I'm not saying, we haven't already confirmed that that is what this definitively is, but I think a lot of people are frankly sick of hearing excuses and also them being told that we need to be careful about how we react to this.
No, if you look at the statistics and you look at what counter-terror police in the UK are saying, we have got active today 900 investigations that counter-terror police are carrying out physically today into approximately 3,000 people who are not on the terror watch list. These are 3,000 active individuals in terrorism that our counter-terror police in the UK are watching. The numbers are significant, and the trouble is, from a national perspective, the measurement of success for us is nothing happens. The measurement of success for counter-terror police is nothing happens, but that's a real differential. We don't see what's going on in the background, and there's huge numbers of attacks being stopped by our police and our security services who are keeping us safe. And this is one, unfortunately, in Germany, which didn't stop.
Absolutely. Philip, can I just thank you very much for coming on tonight? It's great to have you on the show, and I do hope to talk to you again very, very soon. It's Philip Ingram there, former military intelligence officer. Just to give you a picture, which is distressing, of the aftermath of this, I believe that we have some footage of a medic at the scene treating one of the people. So this is shortly after the attack there in Magdeburg. There's people strewn right across, and people are being treated absolutely everywhere. One of the victims that we know who has died is a young child. The German Chancellor has just announced that he's going to travel to Magdeburg on Saturday. I'll just ask you, Stephen Wolf, still with us here, my panel are with us here. You heard what Philip was saying there, and there's a lot of the let's not jump to conclusions. There's a lot of... Well, go on, Anna, you go on.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous, the suggestion that we shouldn't be discussing this. We should absolutely be discussing this. This is clearly a terrorist attack. It's clearly got all the hallmarks of previous terrorist attacks. We know that there is a threat in this country. We have to, as a society, start to confront this and call it what it is. This is radicalisation. This is extremism. This is pure premeditated killing of innocent people, and we have a right and a duty to discuss this.
But what happens if tomorrow the police have interrogated this man and he says, oh, my wife left me and moved country and I was angry and I lost the plot and that's why I ploughed the car? I'm just saying. What that's the case.
But where did he get the bomb from? Did his wife have it under the bed?
Yeah.
I think that might be the killer.
But Philip Ingham's point of, until we have a definitive answer, we can sit here and say with our own eyes, yes, this looks to us like all the classic signs of a terrorist attack. But Philip Ingham is correct in saying, well, actually, we don't have the full picture.
True,
all you're saying is that this might be a lone terrorist attack. This might not be part of an organised. It's still a terrorist attack, and responsibility.
But my concern about the language of people like Philip and the individual that appeared before him is it's one where we're just trying to say, oh, let's not have a riot like we saw in Southport. And the reason why part of the reasons why the riots occurred in Southport is because the information and the truth was hidden from the people. They suggested it was an Islamic attack, and then how long did it take before they turned around and said, oh, yep, no, there was a little bit of ricin, suggested in there, and all of this is going to come out in the trial, and we'll see a little bit more about it. So all of that is there, but that's how the information distorts itself.
I'm not trying to be overly cautious here. I am just going...
Well, I am being careful about that too.
You absolutely are.
It's the principle of the idea.
My job now and just say, very briefly, that is an ongoing situation. The individual involved is not guilty.
Of course.
And we wouldn't want to do anything to implement that. And I know that's not what you did. So just sticking with this, though, I've got a copy of the Daily Mail's front page here in front of me. Carnage at Christmas market is on that front page. Now, the thing that really winds me up about that front page is you could copy-paste that from 2016 in Germany, you could copy-paste it from a couple of years ago in Strasbourg, you could copy-paste it from actually multiple different times in Germany. Time and time and time again, carnage at Christmas market. And I can't help but wonder, this is an attack on our culture, isn't it?
The fact that this is happening at Christmas time after time, there is nothing that demonstrates our Christian culture more than Christmas. This is showing without any shadow of doubt a total, not only a lack of integration, an absolute desire not to integrate.
But Muslim people go to Christmas markets. I'm a practicing Catholic. I'm at church every single week. I go to Christmas market. Most people at Christmas markets are not practicing Christians. I don't necessarily think this is an attack on Christianity. Again, Muslims believe in Jesus.
So why do they pick on
I think they pick the Christmas market because they know it's a place where families are gathered. They can do a lot of damage.
I think there is also a link.
Football matches, yeah.
The Olympics.
Is it not totemic of something, though, JJ?
I was going to suggest
I hear what you say. Is it because, look, the Bataclan wasn't a Christmas market. That was an arena full of people. Ariana Grande, I get that. But is there not something totemic about a Christmas market and what it stands for, which is, if you are in Europe, normally European families with young kids going out and having a mulled wine, gearing up to celebrate a Christian festival. Is that not why it's a target, really, do you think?
No, I think they pick it as a target because it's a family event and they're going to be able to do damage to families more so than a football match where it's...
I think you have a very valid point about the numbers and the size, but I think if you're looking at the kind of psychology of an Islamist terrorist, the idea of hitting something that has something opposing us, our team, our side, our culture, I think that will also play well to them as well and play well to their own audience that were kicking back on that.
A few years ago, there were a series of attacks on Catholic churches in France, and the press didn't report on it en masse. It was kept very low-key. That, I think, undoubtedly was an attack on Christianity because they're literally going after churches. This, I feel, is more of an attack on us as a people.
Can I just bring up the map that we've got of Germany, just for people to give themselves a picture of where in the country this is? So Magdeburg is about 100 miles, I think, away from Berlin. West of Berlin. There it is. Brilliant. So the pin on the map is, unfortunately, where this terror attack has taken place. So you can get a feel for exactly where it is there. And this is a fast-moving picture. The individual who is believed to be responsible for this has been arrested, so he's alive. Police say that there was an explosive device found in his car. Armed police managed boxing. It is Fury versus Usyk. Saudi Arabia has just been awarded a World Cup. The pilots that flew into the Twin Towers were actually Saudi Arabia. We then proceeded to go to war with Iraq and Afghanistan, obviously, naturally. But the pilots there were Saudi Arabian. Saudi Arabia has got a long track record of exporting the Wahhabi ideology around the world and infiltrating British prisons. I mean,
why do we still do business with them? Why are we allowing that? Why we are making billions? Our governments, successive governments, have made billions selling arms to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia use it to commit atrocities across the world. They destroyed Yemen. And yet we, because of the money, we will keep on doing business with them because
Salman's just got back from Saudi Arabia.
Yes,
we got cap in hand, begging them for more.
You missed the fact that Osama bin Laden was was the second wealthiest family outside of the royal family, and that on 9/11, the US allowed 19 planes filled of all their family members to escape all the closing of planes to come back to Saudi Arabia. And we have this so-called link with that country, despite the fact it's got members of families that have been used to terrorism, supporting it, money that's been transported from it.
And they execute more people in Saudi Arabia than almost any other country as well.
But what are we going to do about it? We keep on having terrorists coming from them. Give them a World Cup.
Give them a World Cup.
Sport wash it. Give them a World Cup. Let's do concerts over there. Let's make sure that we keep on getting billions from them, and our governments will do nothing about it.
And do we ever say anything about the actors that turn up for the private parties, or the singers that turn up for weddings for the extremely wealthy royal families out there? And yet they'll come back and rail against the far right and those complaining about terrorism. It's all interlinked, and what I find difficult about the elites or those social liberals is that on the one hand they'll give us these bland statements or the bleeding hearts, but when it comes down to changing the money in their pocket, they won't do anything about it, will they?
The individual who is believed to be responsible, that 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor who worked at a local hospital, has lived in Germany since 2006. And does that make this even more terrifying, that somebody could move to Europe, could live there, could possibly give all of the impressions of integration, working at a medical facility? It's actually the kind of people who we are, rightly so, by the way, told to welcome. Unfortunately, due to a slight family issue, I was in a hospital yesterday. We all know hospitals like in Britain. You have doctors there from all over the world, and I'm very grateful to everyone who's ever helped me or my family in that situation. But to look at this situation, you would think, gosh, OK, that's the kind of person that you would want to throw your arms around. I just think it makes the integration argument. It's so difficult.
No, I mean, as I've already said, this screams that integration just doesn't work. It screams that we should be more careful about people that we let into our countries. But one of the things that really worries me is that we spend our taxpayers' money on things like the prevention.
This company, we are, and it comes down to a question not of whether the system can work, which we know it can over history. It's the volume. It's just the pure numbers, and OK, the ideology mixes with that too.
But how, Stephen, do you account then for the fact that there have been so many failures with the Prevent programme, that they have identified people who've been radicalised, who are still being radicalised, and they haven't actually managed to break the cycle?
They haven't broken the cycle, that's true. Maybe that's down to cultural aspects, maybe that's down to the religious aspects that we've talked about. And I think very clearly when you look at the vast majority of terrorist acts that have occurred across Europe, it is related to Islam. So that means that we have to deal with the people coming in. But if we've got huge numbers, coming into the country,
paying as taxpayers for that terrorist that killed Sir David? Why should we be paying for him to sit in a UK?
We shouldn't. We shouldn't.
Can I just cut across you here? I just want to cut across. Sorry to interrupt. I want to cut across with again. Robert Jenrick has released a short statement. The Shadow Justice Minister. He says, end mass migration, revoke visas / deport those who hate us, give no quarter to extremists. We don't have to live like this. When he says like this, what you're seeing on your screens right now is what this current set of life is like, isn't it? Firefighters, ambulances, blue flashing lights, death, destruction. Christmas market.
It's what we saw in Manchester.
Yes, but I think
we saw in Westminster.
We should point out that, fortunately, we haven't had an attack like this in this country for a few years. But clearly, the threat is still very much there.
Well, what strikes me is I lived in the Middle East, the UAE, for 4 or 5 years, and I had the time of my life there. I followed their rules, I followed their regulations. if any British person over there, anyone who wasn't an Emirati, broke the rules enough, I'm not talking about going on a massacre, I'm not talking about killing people, just getting too drunk in the streets and abusing people, you'd be put in jail for a few weeks, then you'd be deported.
Absolutely.
Why in this country can we not take control and do something as simple as that? If you're not born in this country and you come here and you break the rules, you should be deported.
Exactly.
If I go to America on holiday and I break the law, I get deported and banned from ever going back.
Because we have the ECHR and embedded into the common law. Article 8 allows people to stay here for the right to life. And if you want to be able to change our common law system, then we have to be outside of the ECHR, then start to change our common law.
Or we just ignore the ECHR, as we did when they wanted us to give prisoners the vote.
Cameron,
We just took no notice. Quite right, too.
Unfortunately, those cases are not embedded in our common law that goes through the immigration tribunals, or when we want to try and deport people. Then they can use it in judicial review cases.
I'm getting reports through here now that, unfortunately, there are so many casualties that they are having to be treated in the local shopping centre. So one of the deaths is a young child, and there are so many casualties that they've been treated in a separate shopping centre. I'm just trying to bring you a little update, if I can find one, on the second Christmas market in a place called Erfurt, which is probably about 200 miles away from this one, that was evacuated. It seems as though that's still been evacuated. There's not been any confirmation that they've actually found anything there at all. All of the reports that I'm seeing here from people on social media, from regular commentators, political commentators, thank you, Angela Merkel, thank you, Angela Merkel, thank you, Angela Merkel. Well, the individual here has been in Germany since 2006, so this is not part of the 2016 Angela Merkel experiment that's gone terribly wrong. But so there's that. But what are we going to see in terms of a pushback here? You know, we don't want riots. We don't want violence. We don't want communities to be indiscriminately and unfairly targeted. People going around various areas just, you know, picking people off. We obviously don't want that. But politicians have not listened. Some of them, anyway, time and time and time again.
I think there's a step up here now. What Robert Jenrick has said is something I haven't heard from a senior Conservative for many, many years, really, in the strength, Anna, notwithstanding yourselves, but that is the deportation element does not enter the language. And I think that's come on the back of what JJ was saying. Donald Trump's language and ability to be in power is going to enable that. Secondly, we don't want riots. I think all of us on this panel will agree with that. But what we do want is a rising up of the people to use the democratic process through demonstrations, through petitions, through arguing, so that we can change the most crucial element that's holding us back in this country, the mentality of a kind of liberal elite that doesn't get it, that will not get it, that refuses to accept it.
Through the democratic process, I think is absolutely key. And I also think that we mustn't all change our behaviour. Because otherwise the terrorist wins. I will certainly, if there are any Christmas markets tomorrow that I find myself near, I will certainly still go to those Christmas markets, almost more so.
I was planning to go. Fortunately, not the same one together.
The warning in Britain came this morning, shortly after 3 a.m. It was put out through the form of a press release, through our security services, urging you, the British public, if you're watching or listening to this in Britain, to report potential terrorists at Christmas markets and pantos. We've been told very recently that the threat of ISIS and Al-Qaeda is back. There was a report a couple of days ago that there were 3 late-stage terror attacks foiled here. In Vienna, the Taylor Swift concert was cancelled because of that exact reason. Something is happening again in Europe, isn't it? There is a fear that we are once again really staring down the barrel of a potential wave of Islamist attacks. I'll stress, this has not yet been confirmed as an Islamist attack. Our security services are telling us something without officially telling us something in a way, aren't they, I think?
Well, I mean, the threat, I mean, we don't know this is an Islamic attack, but we do know that the threat of such an attack was regarded as high last year. It is the single biggest threat to, or has been reported to be the single biggest threat to our way of life by the security services now for some years. So, of course, we have to take it seriously. But I come back time and time again to the point that anybody who is in this country, I think we all agree on it, anyone who is in our country who breaks our laws should be deported. End of.
When you look at, remember Jihadi John?
Yeah.
White guy born in this country, raised in a Christian family, ends up being converted and radicalised.
I think that's Jihadi Jack. I think Jihadi John was the individual who made available. I'll take your point, though. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Jihadi Jack.
They can get anyone. They can groom anyone into their way of thinking. And unfortunately, I do think we should have the death penalty for terrorists. I think if it's clean cut like this, then
they seem to want it half the time anyway.
That's literally what they are dying for. Yeah. Give it to them and let them know every time one of you try this is exactly how it's going to end for you.
You know what? I think this is why we're seeing a shift in politics, I think. Because ordinary people who I would never have expected, in fact, ordinary people who I knew growing up, and they're middle-aged or older, the parents of people I grew up with, who I just know were really just quite soft, wishy-washy political people, are now regularly saying they've almost been radicalised to a non-violent extent themselves, and it's stuff like this. And I'm not linking these two things, but I'm saying it's part of it. It's the migrant hotel at the end of their road. It's the bollards when they walk down the street. It's the armed police at the Christmas markets. It's this stuff. Normal people are waking up to the fact that our political class has let us down, I think.
Yeah, and I'm certainly probably fallen into one of those. I was certainly never a person that you would have regarded as using the words the death penalty. The absolutely brutal murder of that child last week was the final tipping point for me, and this is another example of it. And you're right, ordinary individuals who are palpably opposed to the idea of the death penalty in principle have now started to see it much more widely as a vehicle that may necessarily be used in these circumstances. Again, I always hold out the worry when we hand it out to two parts of that kind of anonymous elite that sits up there, is that they can then start using it for those who are political opponents.
How do we feel about the fact that tomorrow is going to be one of the busiest days of the year? We're seeing this from Germany now, and we have had nothing from our Prime Minister or our Home Secretary. What do you think about that?
I know that is terrible. I'm amazed that we still have heard nothing. We've been here now for 2 hours.
The shame of it is, Patrick, is that I'm not even surprised. Starmer's weak, Lammy's terrible. This is what I expect from the Labour government. And when we do get a statement from Starmer, it's going to say something like, my hearts and thoughts go out to everyone.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe they actually heard us turn around and say how banal that statement was, and the guys are now having to do a rewrite, and that's why it's taken so long.
Yeah. He must know about it. I mean, it's impossible that he doesn't know about it. It's impossible that he could not have responded to
the British public, I'm sorry, but this might be in Germany, but the British public need a statement from a leader now, because we're all out and about tomorrow. We're doing things with our families. It's an attack on general Western culture. I'm sorry, but it is. Western Christian culture, Christmas markets. People are going to be busy out and about. This is where you need a leader to come out and say something. And what is it? I mean, you know, he did make a joke, I think, in the election campaign that he doesn't like to work Fridays. Is this what we're living through now? Is this what we're living through, is it?
His hands probably tied by the Saudi regime. He's waiting for them to tell him what he can say first.
The Foreign Office said, apparently, I'm getting in my ear, the Foreign Office said they're closely monitoring the situation. Yeah, well, so are we. I'm afraid that we have to go out and try and live our lives.
We do.
This is what ordinary people are scared of.
The German Chancellor saying, oh, I'm going to go tomorrow. He should be going now.
Get there now.
He should be there now.
Yeah. What better things has he got to do than get onto that plane and
how could he sleep anyway? Sorry, but how could he sleep? If I was in charge of this stuff would terrify me. If I went into politics, I've got no plans to do, by the way, and I'd quite possibly be awful at it, but I would be kept awake by stuff like this.
Yeah.
I couldn't live with it.
Yeah.
Of course.
But this is what we're going to see. This is why we're seeing the change. We are going to see more Donald Trump-like characters coming into power across Europe. As you say, people are fed up. Okay. People are angry.
Labour and Starmer and Yvette have got no plan. Okay. They don't know how to deal with it, and that's why they've got nothing to say.
We have come to the end of the show. Can I just say a massive thank you?
Pleasure.
And a big thank you to everybody who's watching and listening. I leave you with that devastating news from Germany. I'll see you tomorrow.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there. If you've got travel plans over the weekend, it's worth staying in touch with the weather conditions because it is turning increasingly windy, especially in the north and the west. That wind coming from the northwest will make it feel colder with some wintry showers by Sunday morning. We do have a spell of rain and gusty winds clearing through during the evening. Then a gap between weather systems. Clear spells for England and Wales later evening, but overnight that gap is squeezed out by arriving cloud from the west and spells of wet and windy weather pushing into Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England and Wales by dawn. That, of course, will make it feel mild as we start off Saturday in the far northwest. In the south and southeast, clear spells will mean that it's going to be a touch colder, likewise for northeast Scotland. But we do have a lot of cloud first thing. The wind's picking up strength. Outbreaks of rain are moving through much of England and Wales. Brighter skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but here the strongest winds arrive after the cloud clears and a lot of showers. These showers moving in thick and fast across central and western Scotland as well as Northern Ireland. Heavy at times and perhaps with some sleet and snow mixed in over hills later on into the afternoon. The wind will pick up through the day, peaking during the morning and into the afternoon for northern and western Scotland. The risk for the far northwest of wind gusts of 80 miles an hour or more. Elsewhere across northern UK, we can expect 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. So the potential for transport disruption, and that risk continues into Sunday with the wind continuing to be strong all the way across northern and western parts of the UK. In addition to that, we've got showers, and first thing, don't be surprised if you see a few flakes of snow mixed in with those showers, even at lower levels across the Midlands, Northern England and Wales, but they'll turn back to rain later. Much milder weather arrives for Christmas and some rain in the northwest.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won $25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Britain's Royal Collection of Art is one of the most important and largest in the world. And it's also one of the last great European royal collections to remain intact. And built up over many centuries, it has extraordinary depth. And curators have delved into its riches to produce an exhibition of Italian drawings between 1450 and 1600. There are household names here: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Some of the drawings are complete works in themselves. Some are studies for images that would appear in much larger pieces, and some are anatomical studies which enabled these artists to draw the human form in all its perfection.
This is the earliest drawing in the exhibition of around 1450, and it's made by Fra Angelico, the great Florentine painter. It may seem an obvious thing to say, but we only have drawings like this if they have survived. And these drawings were not seen at the time as works of art. They were workshop studies. They were as functional as a hammer or a paintbrush, if you like, in the workshop. But the fact that a drawing would survive from 1450 to the present day shows that first it was useful, and it was a work that would have been referred to constantly in the artist's studio, and only later was it valued by collectors as an exemplar of the artist's genius, if you like, the way in which we might think of it today. So a drawing like this, which is in almost perfect condition, has got a history of being valued for different reasons from when it was produced to the present.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out who doesn't want any overtime, how to keep things harmonious at Christmas, and what the pill could be doing to your taste in men. I'm Cressida Wetton, and tonight I've got comedians Kerry Marks and Scott Caporo taking you through Saturday's top stories. This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's top stories, let's have a look at tonight's headlines with Mark White.
Hello there, I'm Mark White. The latest headlines from the GB News Centre. An appalling scenes out of Germany tonight after a vehicle rammed into a Christmas market in the northeastern city of Magdeburg. Well, these are the latest images we're receiving now from Magdeburg, which is still at the centre, as you can see, of a massive emergency services response. We're told that among those killed is a young child. According to German authorities, up to 70 other people have been injured. 15 of those are reported to have been critically injured. Almost 40 are moderately wounded, and around 15 others are more lightly injured. Well, dozens of ambulances massed at the scene, with paramedics triaging the injured before taking them to nearby major trauma centres. Eyewitnesses were telling local newspaper reporters that the scene inside that Christmas market resembled a war zone. The bodies were left strewn all over the ground within the market, shattered stalls around them as the emergency services worked to try to save the lives of the most critically injured. Well, images are circulating which show a car being driven at high speed right into the Christmas market. Now, those images are too graphic to air, but they show multiple people being struck and thrown up into the air and to the side of that vehicle. And the vehicle, it seems, did not slow down in any way. The images that we've seen show that vehicle continuing at high speed all of the way through that Christmas market. Well, German authorities have confirmed that a 50-year-old man, originally from Saudi Arabia, was arrested at the scene. He's reported to be a doctor who works at one of the area hospitals in that part of northeast Germany. He has apparently lived in Germany since 2006. Early reports indicate the Saudi doctor was not known to the police. However, that picture could, of course, change as more details become available. The German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, said he was very concerned at the news coming out of Magdeburg, and his thoughts are with those caught up in this tragedy. The German police and governmental authorities have not yet declared the incident a terrorist attack, but it will be uppermost, of course, in the minds of the investigators going forward. Germany has suffered multiple terrorist attacks in recent years. In 2016, 12 people were killed and 56 injured when a Tunisian asylum seeker hijacked a lorry and drove that into a Christmas market in Berlin. That attack was carried out in support of the terror group ISIS in Syria. And police and the security services here in the UK and elsewhere across Europe have been warning in recent months of a resurgence of both ISIS and Al-Qaeda, a threat that authorities had thought had dissipated over recent years, now gaining strength and capitalising on the turmoil in countries like Syria, of course, where Bashar al-Assad was overthrown in recent weeks. Well, we should reiterate again, the German authorities have not yet given any indication of a motivation behind the terrible events of this evening but it has all the hallmarks of a vehicle-borne terrorist attack. Crowded places, especially during the festive period, are seen as particularly high risk in terms of the terror threat. Germany has a proud tradition of Christmas markets, always packed with families, but tonight they are mourning a terrible atrocity in one of their main cities. Stay tuned to GB News and to Breakfast for more on this unfolding situation.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to